Chapter 4182. Are you toying with me? As soon as Yun Chujo finished her sentence, Xiao Yu, who was beside her, nearly fainted from anger. It was one thing for her to act as a honey trap, but she had been taken as a hostage just now and nearly had her neck cut off. Now, she had made Flying Flower Island take the blame with her. How shameless. She recalled what had happened 15 minutes ago and was so angry that she was trembling. After the messenger ghost left, Yun Chujo said to her with a smile, "Xiao Yu, little beauty, I was just acting. If I didn't do this, they would definitely make things difficult for us, so we can only let you suffer." Before Xiao Yu could say anything, Yun Chujo continued, "We are now in the same boat. If you fall out with me, you won't get any benefits. Anyway, you're not dead, and Island Master Chi can't do anything to me. So, why don't you cooperate with me obediently? If you find the eye of the array like this, you'll be able to amaze everyone. Besides, it's quite embarrassing to be threatened by a good-for-nothing like me, right? You don't want everyone to know, right?" After Yun Chujo finished speaking, she pretended to help Xiao Yu apply medicine and bandage. She even advised, "Don't be angry. If you're angry, you might leave a scar. It wouldn't be pretty if a scar were to be left on your beautiful neck. Senior brother Chu, don't you think so?" Chu Fang, he didn't hear anything. He didn't want to talk now. Therefore, when Manager Sun and the others came, they saw the scene from before. Manager Sun saw that Yun Chujo promised to compensate for the loss if they couldn't find the array core, so his expression eased up a little. He knew that Yun Chujo was rich, so he wasn't afraid that she would go back on her word. After all, a monk couldn't run away from the temple. However, many array masters began to ridicule him. Today is really an eye-opener. This is the first time I know that you can find the formation core by digging a hole. If you can find the formation core by digging a hole, why don't we just dig through the ghost city? That's really stupid. She might not know that the formation core of every grand array has some kind of concealment. It's impossible to see the formation core with the naked eye. If she can find the formation core, that would really be a ghost. Hearing their words, Yun Chujo curled her lips slightly. Of course, she knew that some array cores were covered, but no matter how they were covered, the smell of spirit stones and array leaves could not escape Xiao Hei's nose. Of course, the prerequisite was that they had to be close enough. That was why she asked the rabbits and ghost hunters to help dig the holes. That way, it would be easier for Xiao Hei to find the array cores. Time passed bit by bit. Yun Chujo was still standing there calmly and did not say anything. Everyone started to get anxious. The glimmer of hope they had was completely destroyed. How could a little girl who did not know anything about arrays find the array core? Manager Sun said with a slight coldness, "Miss Yun, it seems that you can't find the array core. Then, should we talk about compensation?" Yun Chujo smiled, "Who said I can't find the core of the array? Follow me." Yun Chujo's words were like thunder. Everyone was shocked. Although they were skeptical, they were still excited and followed Yun Chujo inside. However, when Manager Sun saw Yun Chujo pointing there, he was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. "Miss Yun, are you kidding me? There is indeed a core of the array here, but it is the core of the Tao Tai Ghost City. Inside the Tao Tai Ghost City, there was not only a communication array but also a protective array for the auction stage." Yun Chujo was pointing at the core of the array. Chapter 4183 could no longer be dug out. Those formation masters immediately burst out laughing. "This is hilarious. Does this Yun Chujo think that she can find the core of the Ghost City's defense formation just by digging a few holes? That's right, this is simply hilarious. So many of us have yet to find it, and she thinks that she can find it just by digging a few holes. She's really naive. That's nothing. She's still digging in secret. Could it be that she's afraid of others snatching her credit? The Nameless Sword Sect and Flying Flower Island are also famous sects, so how did they produce such three brainless disciples? Whether it was Island Master Chi, Elder Duanmu, or the others, they could not keep up appearances, but they could not say anything in public. They could only wait for the matter to be settled and shut their doors before dealing with their own disciples. Xiao Yu and Chu Feng were already numb. They had already prepared for the worst. They had no choice. Who asked them to board the pirate ship? They deserved it. Only Yun Chuzhou had a calm expression as she kept Xiao Hei, Rat, and the other rabbits into her spirit beast bag. Then, she said to the few ghost guards, "Dig, the array core is right below." Manager Sun couldn't bear it any longer. It was fine if they dug up those places previously, but once the array core was destroyed, they would have to spend a lot of manpower and material resources to repair it. How could they allow Yun Chuzhou to continue digging? Stop. Miss Yun, I have already said that this is the array core of the ghost city of Tao Tai, not the protective array core of the ghost city. If you dig this place open, we will have to spend a lot of effort to repair it, so you cannot continue digging. If there isn't the array core of the ghost city's protective array down there, I will compensate you with double the spirit stones. Anyway, there are already array masters here. When the time comes, you can hire them to repair it for you. Yun Chuzhou said lightly. Manager Sun couldn't help but be tempted when he heard the double compensation. He thought that if he kept stopping them, some people might think that he was narrow-minded, therefore, he sneered and said, "Well, since Miss Yun is so straightforward, then you guys can dig." Those ghost guards received the order and dug down. Soon, everyone saw a big array disc. Those array masters curled their lips. This was indeed the array disc of the ghost city of Tao Tai. She should give up now, right? They did not expect Yun Chuzhou to instruct those ghost messengers to dismantle the array disc and move it away, continuing to dig down. Although Manager Sun felt sorry for the dismantled array disc, he did not stop those ghost messengers when he thought of the double compensation promised by Yun Chuzhou. Those ghost messengers dug another person up high, but they did not dig out anything other than sand. The onlookers shook their heads. This Yun Chuzhou was really a demon. There was clearly nothing down there. She just had to wait for the double compensation. Xiao Yu's heart was like a beeping dog. She had suffered so much, and in the end, it was all for naught. She was disappointed and angry. If eyesight could kill, Yun Chuzhou would probably be a sieve by now. At this moment, a ghost messenger cried out in surprise, "I can't dig anymore. I seem to have encountered some obstruction." Everyone looked at the bottom of the pit and saw that the ghost messenger's pickaxe seemed to be blocked by an invisible barrier. There was no way to continue digging. Then, the other ghost errand boys also encountered the same problem and encountered obstacles. The scene was dead silent and then exploded. What did the obstacles mean? It meant that there was a barrier. What did the barrier mean? It meant that there must be something hidden inside. Could it really be the core of the ghost city's defensive formation? Immediately, the few array masters who mocked Yun Chuzhou did not care about the pain on their faces. They jumped into the deep pit and began to study the barriers. Yun Chuzhou hugged her shoulders and watched. She could not help with the rest of the things. After all, she was not an array master. Chapter 4184 Repairing Formation leaves 4 hours later, the formation masters worked together and finally opened the barrier. What appeared in front of everyone was a huge formation disc. The huge formation leaves were covered with dense ancient runes. In the middle was a huge groove filled with 6-star dark spirit stones. Everyone also discovered that some of the formation leaves were already starting to crack. If they didn't repair it, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Those array masters looked at the array disc for a long time, and all of them frowned. This array disc is a bit special. It doesn't seem to be as simple as a protective array. Yeah, it does indeed seem a bit strange. Moreover, there are ancient runes on it. We can only recognize a few of them at most. For now, we can only strengthen those array leaves first. Hopefully, it will be effective. Island Master Chi and the others did not come up with any ideas. They could only agree with the formation masters and temporarily use special materials to reinforce the cracked formation leaves to see if there was any effect. To everyone's surprise, after reinforcing those formation leaves, the ghost city's protective barrier did not tremble as much as before. Moreover, the original gap in the city gate had been repaired. Everyone finally let out a sigh of relief. No matter what, they had bought some time. Of course, because they had really found the array core, Manager's son and the array masters felt their faces hurt. Fortunately, Yun Chujo did not say anything. Manager's son asked Yun Chujo about the process of finding the array core. Yun Chujo smiled and said, I had been circling on the city wall and found that the protective barrier here in the ghost city of Tao Tai was the most stable. So I guessed that this should be where the array core was. It was just a coincidence. Only then did everyone remember that Yun Chujo and the other two were indeed circling around the city wall every day. They had even discussed that these three were most likely mentally ill. So they were looking for the array core. Even so, everyone was still skeptical of her words. But no matter what, the result was good. For a time, Yun Chujo became the hero of the ghost city. Along with Xiao Yu and Chu Fang, she also received unanimous praise from everyone. What heroes came from youths, what worthy of being a disciple of a famous sect, and so on. Although Xiao Yu still had some complaints about Yun Chujo cutting her neck, she didn't do anything to Yun Chujo. On this day, during lunch, Island Master Chi sighed and said, I originally thought that I could temporarily alleviate it after discovering the array core, but I didn't expect that those array masters would be helpless. I'm afraid they won't last for more than a few days. Xiao Yu asked in puzzlement, Master, haven't those array leaves already been reinforced? Why can't they last for more than a few days? Because Xiao Yu had done a good job for the Flying Flower Island this time, Island Master Chi now doted on her even more. He patiently explained, strengthening the array leaves is only a temporary measure. If those array leaves break again, it's useless to reinforce them. Yun Chujo, who was gnawing on a bone, muttered, then draw a few more array leaves according to the original ones. Although they can't be compared to the original ones, they can at least last for a period of time. Island Master Chi was not so kind to her. He snorted coldly and said, what you said is simple. Do you think those array masters didn't think of this? However, the ancient runes on the array leaves were very complicated. Moreover, when drawing them, they had to be done in one go. They couldn't stop in the middle, so they failed every time they tried. They even invited some talisman masters to help, but none of them could draw a complete array leaf. Even these array masters and talisman masters were unable to draw, so there was nothing anyone could do. Chapter 4185, I'll give it a try. After hearing Island Master Chi's words, Yun Chujo didn't say anything. She just gnawed on the bones and became happier and happier. Island Master Chi didn't expect Yun Chujo to have any solutions, so he snorted and didn't say anything else. On the contrary, the others were talking about it. They were worried that once the array leaves broke, their lives would be in danger. Other than Yun Chujo, almost everyone on the table put down their chopsticks. Xiao Yu glared at her and wanted to say something, but she swallowed it back. If it weren't for this foodie, they probably wouldn't have lived until now. Yun Chujo chewed on a few more bones and then sipped on a bowl of soup. Only then did she put down the bowl and chopsticks in satisfaction. I say, is that array leaf really that difficult? Isn't it just drawing from the gourd? I'll give it a try. I like drawing the most, the fellow said while strolling. When everyone heard her words, they nearly died from anger. Could drawing an array leaf be the same as drawing a painting? Moreover, there were incomparably complicated ancient runes on it. If it was someone who didn't have deep attainments in talismans and arrays, not to mention finishing it in one go, even if you were to casually draw from it, you wouldn't be able to draw it. Island Master Chi sneered and said, Yun Chujo, although you did make a great contribution by finding the eye of the array, it was just a fluke. Don't be too arrogant. Think about your own weight before you speak. Otherwise, you'll be laughed at by others. Although Elder Duanmu and Elder Dongfang also felt that Yun Chuji's words were inappropriate, they were disciples of the Nameless Sword sect. It wasn't their place for an outsider to reprimand them. Therefore, their expressions became unsightly. Elder Duanmu was about to speak, however, he heard Yun Chujo say with a smile, "Island Master Chi, thank you for your reminder. However, I am confident and thick-skinned. Therefore, I will take your words as encouragement. Senior brother Chu, Xiao Yeye, let's go and take a look at the eye of the formation." Island Master Chi, how could Yun Chujo be so thick-skinned? When did his precious disciple become Xiao Yeye? Xiao Yu was also very confused. Okay. What the hell was Xiao Yeye? But she hesitated for a moment and still got up to follow. It was better to follow that trash Yun Chujo than to stay in the inn. The three of them left the King of Hell's residence and slowly wandered toward the ghost city of Tao Tai. There were basically no pedestrians on the road. They either stayed in the house or volunteered to help guard the city. Besides, they didn't have the time to stroll on the street. Junior sister Yun, are you really going to try drawing array leaves? Have you drawn them before? Chu Fang couldn't help but ask. I haven't drawn array leaves before, but I've drawn talisman seals before. I've even drawn portraits. By the way, senior brother Chu, I'll draw one for you one day. I guarantee you'll be satisfied, He Xinjiu said with a smile. The corner of Chu Fang's eyes twitched. The focus now wasn't on drawing portraits, all right? Xiao Yu snorted coldly at the side. Yun Chujo, do you think those array masters will let you draw? You have to know that there are very few large-scale array leaves to begin with. If you waste one, they will not let you waste one. Xiao Yu, don't worry. I will make them agree. Yun Chujo said with a grin. Xiao Yu was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Yun Chujo, if you continue to call me Xiao Yu, I will not be polite to you. He Xinjiu touched her chin. If you don't call me, then don't call me. What's the rush? Then I'll call you Yuer in the future. This is nice to hear. Chapter 4186, we are here to help. Xiao Yu naturally would not agree to be called Yuer. She angrily chased Yun Chujo for 2 streets before He Xinjiu said slyly, alright, since you are not willing to be called Xiao Yeye and Yuer, then I will call you Little Yuer from now on. Xiao Yu panted heavily as she glared at Yun Chujo. She was puzzled. Her spirit energy was clearly much higher than this trash, so why couldn't she catch up to her? She knew Yun Chuji's character. If she still didn't agree, this fellow might not give her an ugly nickname. Little Moon it is. Yun Chujo saw that Xiao Yu didn't say anything and immediately clapped her hands. Little Moon, senior brother Chu, let's go. Little Miss will bring you to show off and bring you to fly. The corners of Xiao Yu and Chu Fang's mouths twitched violently. This person was most likely having a relapse again. She was the youngest among them, so how could she call herself a young miss? Shameless. The three of them chatted and laughed, and soon arrived at the ghost city of Tao Tai. Coincidentally, the ghost guards were the 6 people who were beaten up back then. When they saw Yun Chujo and the others, they could not help but feel a little embarrassed. Yun Chujo said with a smile, the 6 of you, what a coincidence. We are really fated. Sorry for offending you previously. Forgive us, forgive us. What could the 6 ghost messengers say? They also said a few polite words, then, they said, Miss Yun, are you going inside? The city lord has given an order. Without his order, no one except the array master is allowed to enter. Yun Chujia's smile became even brighter. 6 of you, the city lord's order is targeted at ordinary people. The 3 of us are not ordinary people, so please let us in. Otherwise, I will have to cut Little Moon's neck a few more times. Won't your heart ache? The 6 messengers were stunned at first, but then they realized that Yun Chujo was threatening them. After what happened last time, they finally knew that this person was a person who kept her word and was fearless. If they didn't let her in, she might really do it. Thus, the 6 of them looked at each other. She was the one who had discovered the array core anyway, and there were other array masters inside. They were not afraid of her causing trouble, so they just went in. After the two ghost guards opened the door, Yun Chuzhou and the other two walked in. Xiao Yu said angrily, Yun Chuzhou, if you dare to take me as a hostage again, I'll kill you. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. I'm just teasing them. You're my little moon. How can I bear to hurt you? If they don't let us in, I'll take senior brother Chu as a hostage. Anyway, he's a man. It's fine even if I cut his face a few times. Chu Feng, what's wrong with a man? Is a man shameless? The three of them quickly arrived at the core of the formation with ease. The three of them jumped to the bottom of the pit and saw the array formation masters either thinking bitterly or practicing on the blank formation leaves with talisman pens. There was also an array formation master who was most likely crazy and was banging his head against the wall. When those array masters saw Yun Chuzhou and the other two, especially Yun Chuzhou, they couldn't help but feel embarrassed. The moment they saw this little girl, they felt their faces hurt, burning with pain. One of the array masters asked, What are you doing here? Did the city lord send you here? Xiao Yu was about to speak when Yun Chuzhou interjected, Yes, I volunteered to help, so the city lord sent us here. The array master who was ramming against the wall snappily said, Help? Help with what? Could it be that you can draw array leaves? Yun Chuzhou nodded. That's right. I'm here to help draw array leaves. Chapter 4187 finished speaking before leaving. After hearing Yun Chuzhou's words, the formation masters were stunned at first, then their mouths twitched. If they hadn't been slapped in the face by Yun Chuzhou last time, they would definitely have mocked and ridiculed her. Even so, the formation master who had crashed into the wall couldn't hold it in anymore. Yun Chuzhou, do you think that this formation leaf is a joke? Although we don't dare to say that we are the top formation masters in the northern continent, we are still considered influential figures. If we can't even complete it, can you? Yes, I am a nobody, but I found the formation core. Yun Chuzhou's face was full of smiles, but her words poked people's hearts. Those formation masters immediately felt embarrassed. One of the formation masters said, Since you insist on trying, then try using a few small formation leaves first. There's no need to use too many. If you can draw 1/20th of a rune, I will give you a large formation leaf for you to draw. Yun Chuzhou immediately nodded in agreement. She took the few small array leaves that the array master handed to her and walked towards the array leaf that was about to break. After observing for a while, she took out a talisman brush and began drawing. The array masters, Xiao Yu, and Chu Feng surrounded Yun Chuzhou. Although they felt that this fellow was just bragging, they still wanted to see if she knew how to draw. Soon, everyone curled their lips because Yun Chuzhou had drawn a few array leaves in a row. The runes on them were crooked and they were also intermittent. It was obvious that she was a novice. Without waiting for the crowd to say anything, Yun Chuzhou sighed. As expected, drawing like this won't work. Do we really have to do that? Chu Feng asked in puzzlement, Junior sister Yun, what do you mean? Yun Chuzhou seemed to have just realized what she had said and immediately covered her mouth. What did I say? I didn't say anything. Since I can't draw it, then forget it, let's go back. The array masters were aroused by her words just now, so they wouldn't let her leave. The array master who hit the wall said, Yun Chuzhou, what did you mean just now? Do you have another way to successfully draw it? Yun Chuzhou's eyes flickered and she looked guilty. Did I say it? I was just saying it casually. It's getting late, I'm going back to sleep. Move, move. Everyone was speechless. It was the afternoon, all right? Why was she sleeping? This Yun Chuzhou must be hiding something. It was a serious matter and she had to say it. Hence, everyone clamored for Yun Chuzhou to tell the truth, or else she would not be allowed to leave. An elderly array master said earnestly, Miss Yun, this array leaf concerns the safety of the entire ghost city. If you have a way, say it. Everyone will be grateful for your kindness. Yun Chuzhou's face revealed a hesitant expression, as if she was having an intense battle of thoughts. In the end, she gritted her teeth, she said with a wry smile, alright, as a member of Towering Sky Continent, I, Yun Chujo, will naturally take the lives of the people as my responsibility. Even if I have to risk my life, I will not hesitate. When Chu Fang heard this, he could not help but reveal a worried expression. Junior sister Yun, senior brother Chu, you don't have to persuade me. If anything happens to me, you can just pretend that you don't have a junior sister like me. After saying this, Yun Chujia's eyes reddened as tears began to fall. Xiao Yu bit her lips and said, Yun Chujio, how can you draw any array leaves? Let's go back. As Xiao Yu said that, she wanted to pull Yun Chujia's hand, but she was separated by a few array masters. Someone said, Miss Xiao Yu, let Miss Yun finish her words first before leaving. Yun Chujia's lowered eyes flashed with a faint light. Did this little girl, Xiao Yu, not want her to die? Yo, this is the discovery of conscience. Chapter 4188, Secret Technique. At this moment, those array masters were already convinced that Yun Chujio had some unknown secret. How could they let her leave, isolating her from Chu Fang and Xiao Yu? Although Chu Fang and Xiao Yu were worried, they were not the array master's match at all. They could only watch helplessly. Yun Chujio took out a handkerchief to wipe away her tears. She revealed an expression of sacrificing herself for justice and said, all right, since things have come to this point, I can only speak the truth. You might have also heard that I received the Ancestral Master's advice in our nameless Ancestral Master's cave abode. The array formation masters looked at each other. They had heard of this rumor. However, wasn't it said that this was an illusion caused by eating poisonous mushrooms? Yun Chujio continued, not only did the nameless Ancestral Master give me advice on sword techniques, he also told me about the secret method of drawing ancient runes. If you want to draw ancient runes, you have to borrow the power of a 6-star dark spirit stone, but what? Those array masters asked anxiously. But the success rate is only 10%. Most importantly, not only will it consume your physical strength and spiritual power, but most importantly, it will also consume your spiritual sense, and even damage your spiritual sense. Who knows, you might even become a fool. Therefore, the patriarch warned me not to try unless it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, I'll regret it too much. Yun Chujio sighed and said. When everyone heard this, they immediately looked at each other. They did have 6-star dark spirit stones, and there were many slots in the formation eye. However, putting aside whether this secret technique was easy to learn, the main reason was that it would damage spiritual sense. Wasn't this too dangerous? At this moment, Yun Chujio said again, although this is also our nameless sword sect's top secret, for the sake of everyone's lives, I'll take the liberty to tell you today. The secret technique is, wait. Yun Chujio, this is your nameless sword sect's secret technique. It's better if you don't tell us. That's right. We all have integrity. How can we learn your nameless sword sect's secret technique? That's right. If you want to tell us, you'd better tell the people of your nameless sword sect. Don't tell us, or we'll feel guilty. Yun Chujio laughed coldly in her heart. It sounded nice, but wasn't it because she was afraid that after she told them, they would have to use the secret technique to draw the formation leaves, afraid that they would become fools? On the other hand, the elderly formation master sighed and said, anyway, this old man doesn't have much time left to live. I can throw away my face or whatever. Miss Yun, tell me the secret technique. Don't worry, I won't tell a third person about this secret technique. Yun Chujio was stunned. She didn't expect this old man to be so kind-hearted. Not everyone in this world was selfish. There were still good people. However, Yun Chujio shook her head and said, old man, it's not that I won't tell you, but you're too old. This secret technique has an age limit. When the elder array master heard this, he couldn't help but shake his head in disappointment, but he didn't say anything. Yun Chujio looked at the others. Your ages are all right. I've considered what you said before. It's all right. At this time, why are there still sects? Come, I'll tell you the secret art right now. The array master's eyes flickered and he said, "Io, my stomach hurts a little. I'll go out for a while. You guys do your thing." "Io, my stomach doesn't feel too good either. Wait for me, let's go together." "Well, I can't breathe. Let's go out and get some air." Chapter 4189 was on the boat again in a short while. Those array masters left with all kinds of excuses, leaving only Yun Chujo and the other two and the elderly array master in the pit. Yun Chujo showed a struggling expression, and finally showed a determined expression. "Old man, now that things have come to this, I can only take the risk to try. Do you have any giant array leaves? Lend them to me." The elderly array master sighed. Those array masters who thought highly of themselves were not as good as this little girl. Although it sounded nice, it was just that they did not want to damage their spiritual sense. He wanted to persuade Yun Chujo, but seeing her determined attitude, he could only take out 5 giant array leaves and give them to her. He even took out a talisman pen and handed it to her. "The grade of your talisman pen is too low. Although this talisman pen is not very good, it is still better than yours. I'll give it to you." Yun Chujo took it after thanking him and said, "Old man, other than my companions here, I trust you the most. Can you help me guard outside and not let those people come in to disturb me?" The elderly array master nodded and wanted to say something. In the end, he just sighed and left. Yun Chujo stretched her neck and saw that he had left. This guy shamelessly jumped onto the disc array and stuffed all the 6-star dark spirit stones in the groove into his storage ring. He even casually threw a few to Xiao Yu and Chu Fang. Chu Fang and Xiao Yu were completely dumbfounded. Where were the array leaves that they had agreed upon? Where was the awe-inspiring righteousness that they had agreed upon? Where was the self-sacrifice that they had agreed upon? Why did it turn into a robbery? Yun Chujo took more than half of the 6-star dark spirit stone in the groove. Her evil claws wanted to take more, but she was afraid that it would affect the operation of the array disc, so she could only pull her hand back painfully. Chu Fang finally regained his senses and said with a trembling voice, "Junior sister Yun, you. What are you doing?" Yun Chujo glanced at him. "Using a secret technique to draw the array leaf, are you too stupid? Quickly put away the dark spirit stone. Are you afraid that others won't know that you took the 6-star dark spirit stone?" Chu Fang and Xiao Yu subconsciously put away the 6-star dark spirit stones beside their feet into their storage rings. Then, they saw Yun Chujo looking at them with a sinister look. Their heads buzzed. It was over. They had boarded the pirate ship again. Yun Chujo lowered her voice and said, "All right, we are now in the same boat. This matter will be known by the heavens and the earth. Both of you will know and I will know. All of you will rot until you are in your stomachs. Do you hear me?" Chu Fang was about to cry. Even if they did not say anything, the dark spirit stones in the groove had decreased by so much that only a blind person would not be able to discover it. But what about this array leaf? Yun Chujo had a mischievous smile on her face. Don't worry, don't worry. Didn't I say it just now? There's only a 10% chance of success, so it's normal for it to fail." Chu Fang and Xiao Yu, this fellow was simply full of bad ideas. So all of this was planned by her. It turned out that she wasn't here to draw the array leaf at all, but to take advantage of it. Yun Chujo ignored them and took out a huge array leaf and placed it on the stone platform built by the array masters, then said, "Although it's a lie, I still have to draw a few random pictures to make up the numbers. Help me guard the pit. If that old man can't hold it, Senior Marshal Brother Chu, you take Little Moon hostage and don't let those people come down. If they are exposed, we won't be able to recover." Xiao Yu, Chu Fang. Chapter 4190, this is voluntary. Even though Chu Fang and Xiao Yu felt like they were barking dogs in their hearts, they had no choice but to jump onto the pit to help guard it. When Yun Chujo saw them leave, her expression turned solemn. Although she had talent in drawing talismans, these ancient runes had a very high requirement for spirit energy, and it was also very complicated. She did not have much confidence. However, the current situation was urgent, so she could only try her best. She walked to the formation leaf that was about to break and observed it for a while. Then, she returned to the front of the stone platform. First, she closed her eyes and focused her mind for a while. Then, she picked up the talisman pen that the elderly formation master gave her. She began to draw. As expected, the first formation leaf was drawn to 1/3 of the place. Because of the lack of spiritual power, it failed. Yun Chuzhou frowned. She looked at her empty dantian and said to Guai Chao and the Great Void Mirror solemnly, "Spit out some power of lightning. I need it urgently." Guai Chao and the Great Void Mirror did not oppose her as usual when they saw how serious she was. They began to spit out the power of lightning evenly. Yun Chuzhou refined the power of lightning that they spat out and picked up the talisman brush again. However, she failed again halfway through the second piece. This time, it was not because her spirit energy was lacking, but because the runes were too complicated. Yun Chuzhou accidentally drew the wrong one, resulting in the entire array leaf being ruined. Yun Chuzhou took a deep breath. She had to meditate for a while before she had the energy to continue drawing, so she began to meditate cross-legged. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu, who were on top of the deep pit, watched Yun Chuzhou's actions. Although they couldn't see what she had drawn on the array leaf, it didn't look like she was randomly drawing, but it did look like it. At this moment, there was a commotion from outside. It was likely that the elderly array master was blocking the other array masters. Yun Chuzhou, who was meditating, clearly heard the commotion. She suddenly opened her eyes and said solemnly to Chu Feng and Xiao Yu, "Go over and help. At least buy me an hour." This was the first time Chu Feng and Xiao Yu saw Yun Chuzhou so serious. They subconsciously walked towards the door. The two of them walked halfway before they realized that their spirit energy could not be compared to those array masters. How could they stall for an hour? Xiao Yu recalled what Yun Chuzhou said and gritted her teeth. That trash doesn't seem to be joking. Maybe she can really draw it, so we helped her. According to what that trash said, if you hold me hostage, even if they don't believe it, it's still possible to drag it out for an hour. Chu Feng was somewhat at a loss. This isn't too good, right? Xiao Yu rolled her eyes. Can you not be so wishy-washy? I'm not even afraid of being held hostage. What are you afraid of? Although Chu Feng had a good temper, being called wishy-washy by a girl made him lose face. He immediately said in a cold voice, "This is voluntary. Don't call me ruthless when the time comes." Xiao Yu snorted coldly and did not reply. The two had just finished discussing when those array masters rushed in. The reason was very simple. In the beginning, they were afraid that after they learned the secret technique, Yun Chuzhou would let them draw the array leaf. Wouldn't that damage their spiritual sense? However, when they thought about it later, they were also dumbfounded. They could totally learn the secret technique and then say that they did not learn it. This was a secret method to draw ancient runes. What if they could use it in the future? Chapter 4191 Your disciple has been kidnapped again. In particular, those array masters had unintentionally learned from those ghosts that Yun Chuzhou had not received any instructions from Manager's son at all and had entered without permission. That little girl was obviously scheming. Could she be lying to them? Therefore, despite the elder array master stopping them, they still charged in. Seeing this, Chu Feng did not have time to think about anything else. He took out his sword and placed it on Xiao Yu's neck. When these array masters saw this, they immediately stopped in their tracks. Although they had heard about Yun Chuzhou holding Xiao Yu hostage, Xiao Yu's identity was special, so they really did not dare to take the risk. However, they did not notice that Chu Fang's legs were slightly trembling. This was the first time he was so close to a girl, so he could not help but feel a little nervous. Although he had interacted with Yun Chuzhou quite often, in his heart, Yun Chuzhou was a terrifying black lotus, so he did not have any romantic thoughts. However, Xiao Yu was different. Although she was arrogant and domineering, after interacting with her for the past few days, Chu Feng felt that she was not that annoying. In addition, Xiao Yu's appearance was one of the best in the northern continent, especially now that the two of them were so close to each other. He could even smell the fragrance coming from Xiao Yu's body. It was already good enough to be able to hold a treasured sword. Xiao Yu did not have as many thoughts as Chu Fang. Right now, she only wanted to buy an hour for Yun Chujiu. Her heart was also very conflicted. On one hand, she was unwilling to accept that Yun Chujiu was stronger than her. On the other hand, she hoped that Yun Chujiu could create a miracle. She did not know why, but after interacting with Yun Chujiu for the past few days, she felt that although Yun Chujiu's mouth was a little harsh, and although she still looked so annoying, she felt that there was a sense of stability by her side. She had really seen a ghost. Those array masters negotiated with Chu Fang, but Chu Fang had no choice. In order to scare those people away, he could only clench his teeth and increase the strength of his hands. A wound instantly appeared on Xiao Yu's neck. Chu Fang only felt his heart tremble, and he nearly threw the treasured sword in his hand onto the ground. He managed to stabilize his mind with great difficulty, and his eyes suddenly turned red as he shouted at those people, "Back off. All of you, back off. Or else I'll really kill her. Do you people still know what propriety, justice, and shame are? It was clearly you who didn't want to damage your spiritual sense, and each of you found an excuse to escape one by one. Now, you've come back to disturb junior sister Yun's use of a secret technique. Do you still deserve to be human?" Those array masters' faces alternated between green and red, and they couldn't help but feel flustered and exasperated. However, when they saw the wound on Xiao Yu's neck, they didn't dare to take the risk. If they offended Flying Flower Island, even if they could leave Ghost City, it was likely that they would not have an easy time in the future. After a discussion, they decided to let the ghost messengers deliver the letter to Manager's son and Island Master Qi. They wanted to see if Yun Chujiu was really drawing the array leaf or was she up to something. Chu Fang saw that someone was delivering the letter and did not stop them. He estimated the time. This trip would take less than an hour. The elder array master sighed. These people weren't even as good as the three youngsters. They didn't think that if Yun Chujiu had evil intentions, she wouldn't have helped them find the core of the array. In the end, they were still selfish. They didn't want to damage the leaves of the array and wanted to learn the secret technique. They were really selfish to the extreme. In the King of Hell's residence, Island Master Qi was talking to Elder Duanmu and the others when he saw a ghost scamper rush in. "Island Master Qi, your disciple has been kidnapped again. Please go and take a look." Island Master Qi was stunned for a moment before he stood up. Xiao Yu was kidnapped by Yun Chujiu again. That ghost messenger shook his head. She wasn't kidnapped by Miss Yun this time. She was kidnapped by young hero Chu Fang of the Nameless Sword sect. Island Master Qi felt as though he was bickering in his heart. What the hell was going on? P Alpha Alpha No One Oh Hey had discovered that ever since his disciple got together with that little girl, Yun Chujiu, it was getting more and more troublesome. However, the most important thing now was to see what was going on before dealing with them. Thus, Island Master Qi and the others hurriedly left the King of Hell's abode and met Manager's son and the others on the way. They did not have time to exchange pleasantries and immediately rushed to the ghost city of Tao Tai. The moment Island Master Qi saw Xiao Yu being held hostage by Chu Fang, especially the bloodstains on Xiao Yu's neck, he was about to explode with anger. If Chu Fang did not still have Xiao Yu in his hands, he would probably have slapped Chu Fang to death on the spot. Chu Fang's legs trembled even more, but he didn't hear Yun Chujiu's voice, so he could only grit his teeth and persevere. Elder Gu was afraid that Island Master Qi would make a move, so he berated, "Evil disciple, what are you doing? Hurry up and release Xiao Yu." Chu Fang gritted his teeth and said, "Master, I didn't mean to hurt Xiao Yu. It's mainly because junior sister Yun is using a secret technique to draw the array leaf. She has told us not to let anyone disturb her. We have no choice but to use this method." Xiao Yu also echoed, "That's right. This matter isn't Chu Fang's fault. I was the one who was kidnapped voluntarily. Yun Chujo said that if we were disturbed, all our efforts would be wasted. So we have no way to stop those array masters, so we can only do this. Please visit P Alpha Alpha-1. Island Master Chi almost fainted from anger. What kind of bewitching potion did Yun Chujo give his disciple? Now she was simply obeying her every word, and she was even willing to be kidnapped to help her stall for time. Was there something wrong with her brain? However, he was afraid that Chu Fang would accidentally hurt Xiao Yu, so he could only say, "We won't go in. Hurry up and bandage the wound. If it leaves a scar, you'll regret it." Chu Fang had long given up on holding Xiao Yu hostage. Upon hearing that, he immediately put away his sword and said somewhat helplessly, I didn't use any strength just now. You don't hurt, right? Xiao Yu rolled her eyes. I'll try cutting your neck to see if it hurts. Chu Fang also felt that what he said was rather stupid. His face immediately turned red and he became even more at a loss. Upon seeing this, Island Master Chi immediately understood that Chu Fang was harboring wolf-like ambitions for his own disciple. He became even angrier as he said to Elder Gu, "The three of you, although Xiao Yu is willing, isn't it too much for your nameless sword-sex disciples to hold her hostage over and over again?" Elder Gu could not bear to look at his own disciple's stupidity. He laughed and said, "Island Master Chi, there's no need to be angry. After we are out of danger, I will naturally give you an explanation." Island Master Chi snorted coldly. If not for the special circumstances, he would have killed Chu Fang with a slap. He actually coveted his disciple. He was really courting death. Xiao Yu was going to marry Tower Master Luochen. How could a mere successor disciple like him compare to Tower Master Luochen? He really overestimated himself. Manager Sun coughed. "Everyone, should we go in and take a look? At most, we can just quietly take a look at the side of the pit and not disturb her. I believe we won't be able to affect Yun Chuji's drawing of the array leaf." Island Master Chi and the others naturally had no objections. They wanted to see what Yun Chujo was up to. Although Chu Fang and Xiao Yu wanted to stop her, they knew that they could not stop her. They could only emphasize repeatedly that they should not go into the pit to disturb Yun Chujo. Island Master Chi looked at Xiao Yu in anger. He planned to interrogate her properly when he returned. What did Yun Chujo give her to make her so obedient? Soon, they reached the edge of the pit. What they saw shocked them. They saw Yun Chujo lying on the ground with her face facing the sky. She seemed to have fainted. Elder Duanmu and the others jumped down in a hurry. When they got closer, they saw Yun Chujo with her eyes closed. Her face was as pale as paper, and her hair was soaked with sweat. Elder Jiyu was about to check Yun Chuji's pulse, but Yun Chujo woke up. She looked at Elder Gu and the others in a daze. Then, she stood up and pointed at the crowd. "Hey! Where did the ghost come from? Grand Supreme Elder, hurry up and get out of my way." Everyone was stunned. What was she talking about? The array master who had crashed into the wall exclaimed, "It seems that Yun Chujo has suffered a backlash from the secret technique. She has become a fool." Hei Shinjo, who was possessed by the essence of acting, cursed in her heart. "You are the fucking fool. Your entire family is a fool." However, this fellow was eager for everyone to think that she had lost her mind. She took out a treasured sword and waved it around. "Get out of the way. All of you, get out of the way. This place is related to the safety of the ghost city. Whoever comes near me will die." Everyone's faces were dull. Then, they saw Yun Chujo pointing the sword at Island Master Chi and saying, You old ghost, why do you look so familiar? Get out of the way, please visit P Alpha Alpha-1. MP Alpha ND Alpha No one, Ohei was about to say something when he saw Yun Chujo laughing loudly and saying, "Ha! I've finally finished drawing the array leaf. The ghost city is safe. Everyone doesn't have to die." Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by this sentence. She had finished drawing the array leaf. Everyone's eyes then fell on the stone platform and the array leaves scattered on the ground. However, some of the array leaves had been drawn to 1/3, some had been drawn to half, and some had even drawn some ghost runes. None of them had been successfully drawn. When the array masters saw the array leaf that had been drawn to half, they could not help but turn pale with fright. The lines and strength of this array leaf were just right, but it was a pity that they had drawn the wrong symbol. Otherwise, they might really have been able to draw it successfully. It seemed that the secret technique that Yun Chujio was talking about was true. Otherwise, there was no way that a little girl like her would not be able to draw it. On one hand, these array masters felt that it was a pity that the secret technique was lost because of Yun Chujio's madness. On the other hand, they felt a little fortunate. If Yun Chujio had not gone mad, they reckoned that everyone would have asked her to tell them the secret technique. At that time, they would have no choice but to learn it even if they did not want to. Only the eyes of the elderly array master flashed. He had given Yun Chujio a total of 5 empty giant array leaves. There were only 4 on the ground. The other one had yet to be drawn, or could it be that she had kept it after successfully drawing it? While everyone was in a daze, they saw Yun Chujio roll her eyes and faint on Xiao Yu's body. Xiao Yu was originally a little worried that this fellow had really gone crazy, but when she saw the sinister flash in his eyes, she had an epiphany. Fuck, this trash was acting again. Although Xiao Yu secretly gritted her teeth, she still shouted in panic, Yun Chujio, are you alright? Why don't I bleed you a little? Maybe you will regain your consciousness. Yun Chujio's eyelids trembled when she heard Xiao Yu's words. The hand under her sleeve pinched Xiao Yu's waist fiercely. Xiao Yu was in so much pain that she nearly cried out. Just as she was about to pinch Yun Chujio's body a few times, Yun Chujio opened her eyes and said weakly, where is this? Who am I? Who are all of you? Chu Fang said with a sobbing voice, Junior sister Yun, I am senior brother Chu. Don't tell me you don't even recognize me. Yun Chujio was stunned for a moment, then she pressed her hand on her temple and said, I remember now. I am the country toppling, city toppling, and peerless female emperor. My dear ministers, why don't you kneel before me when you see me? Everyone was dumbfounded. It was over. This little girl had really gone crazy. Just as they were at a loss, Yun Chujio took out a huge array leaf from her storage ring and placed it on the stone platform. What is this thing? Who put it in my storage ring? Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by the array leaf. The array master who had slammed into the wall exclaimed, It's done. It's really done. However, we still need to compare it. There can't be the slightest error. P alpha alpha no one. Oh, everyone was so anxious that they gritted their teeth, but they couldn't snatch it openly. Manager Sun smiled like a flower and coaxed, Miss Yun, we are all grateful for your righteousness. The array leaf is of great importance. Please hand it over to us first. Yun Chujio frowned. What did you say? I don't understand. Elder Duanmu and the other 2 tried to persuade her, but Yun Chujio refused to take out the array leaf no matter what. Some people were anxious and wanted to make a move. Please visit P alpha alpha-1. Chu Fang said angrily, do you still have a conscience? Junior sister Yun has gone crazy for the sake of drawing the array leaf, yet you still want to snatch it. You're worse than pigs and dogs. Those people looked a little embarrassed as they defended themselves. We're not trying to hurt Miss Yun, but the array leaf is of great importance. The earlier we change it, the earlier we can rest assured. Elder Gu was afraid that those people would become angry out of embarrassment. He scolded, Chu Fang, don't be rude. Everyone was just saying it, how could they really hurt the little girl? You usually have the best relationship with the little girl. Advise her to hand over the array leaf so that she can return to the inn earlier to find someone to treat her. Chu Fang did not dare to contradict Elder Gu. He could only say to Yun Chujio, Junior sister Yun, hand over the array leaf and senior brother will bring you back to the inn to eat delicious food. Don't you love eating bones the most? Senior brother will ask the inn's people to make a basin of bones for you. Yun Chujio ridiculed in her heart. What did he mean by she loved eating bones the most? She was not a dog. However, this fellow felt that it was about time to finish the job. After scraping the oil and water properly, he could call it a day. Thus, he clutched his head. Senior brother Chu, I remember now. You are senior brother Chu, my head hurts so much, it's like being pricked by needles. Senior brother, do you have any medicinal pills that can heal spiritual sense? Quickly give me some, I'm in so much pain. When the elder array master heard that, he hurriedly handed over a bottle of medicinal pills. Little girl, I have some medicinal pills that can heal spiritual sense. Although they can't be compared to the mysterious heaven pill, they can still alleviate the pain. Yun Chujio nodded weakly. Thank you, senior. It's just that my spiritual sense is severely damaged. I reckon that I'll have to rely on the pills to maintain it in the future. These pills won't be able to last for more than a few days. I'm really miserable. Woo, I won't really become a fool, right? Xiao Yu had long seen through Yun Chujio's little tricks. She stood by the side without saying a word and sneered in her heart. She wanted to see how this scene of hers would continue to play out. Did she think that those people would obediently take out the medicinal pills just because she said so? In her dreams. As expected, other than Elder Duanmu and the other two taking out some medicinal pills and handing them to Yun Chujio, the others did not move. Yun Chujio took the few bottles of pills, she humphed and said, Senior brother Chu, my spiritual sense is in terrible pain now. If I don't have good pills, I'd better not use my spiritual sense now to avoid getting hurt again. Keep these pills in your storage ring first. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard that. They naturally understood the meaning of Yun Chujio's words. It turned out that if they didn't give her the pills, this guy wouldn't take out the formation leaf. After all, even the pills were kept in Chu Fang's storage ring. Manager Sun secretly cursed Yun Chujio for her black heart. She had clearly bought a mysterious heaven pill in the ghost market of Tao Tai, and now she was here to extort pills. However, when he thought about how Yun Chujio had damaged her spiritual sense in order to draw the formation leaf, it wouldn't be too much to take the opportunity to ask for more pills. After all, it would take a long time to restore her spiritual sense. Therefore, he took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Yun Chujio. Miss Yun, there is a 3-mark soul condensing pill in here. Although its effect isn't as good as the mysterious heaven pill, its effect isn't bad. After Yun Chujio took it, she said weakly, Thank you, Manager Sunday. You are really a kind and good person, unlike some people who are hard-hearted. Ouch, my head hurts. Island Master Chi and the others' faces were stiff. They naturally knew that Yun Chujio was talking about them. Moreover, judging from her meaning, if they could not get the pill, they would not take out the array leaf. Island Master Chi threw a bottle of medicinal pills to Yun Chujio with a cold face. Seeing this, the others couldn't play dumb anymore. They all took out the medicinal pills to heal their spiritual sense or wounds and handed them to Yun Chujio. Please visit P-alpha-alpha-1. MP-alpha-alpha-no-1, everyone nearly fell back in anger. Good, very good. This Yun Chujio's skin was even thicker than the city wall. Xiao Yu watched coldly from the side. On one hand, she felt that Yun Chujio was too shameless. On the other hand, she felt that this shamelessness seemed to have some benefits. Otherwise, with the virtue of those people, it was impossible for them to take out the pills. Hei Shinjo had almost finished collecting the pills. Only then did she take out the array leaf. She even hummed and said, I traded my life for this. You guys must be careful. Don't break it for me. The array masters couldn't be bothered with her now. They lifted the array leaf to one side and compared it carefully, afraid that there would be the slightest mistake. Hei Shinjo sat on the ground. Although this guy was acting just now, drawing the array leaf had indeed consumed a lot of her spiritual power and physical strength. The reason why she made such a scene was to divert everyone's attention. Otherwise, the secret technique she mentioned might not be able to withstand the scrutiny. Only then did Chu Feng realize that junior sister Yun was not putting on an act again, right? The array masters repeated the comparison several times before confirming that the array leaf Yun Chujo had drawn was exactly the same as the one that had suffered the most damage. However, they did not immediately change the array leaf because there would be a gap in the protective array for a short period of time when they changed the array leaf. They had to get everyone ready in advance. Chapter 4196, How could there be so few dark spirit stones? Since it was already night time, Manager Sun and the others decided to use this night to inform everyone to prepare and change the array leaf after daybreak. Just as they finished their discussion, they heard someone exclaim, "Oh my god, why are there so few 6-star dark spirit stones in this groove?" After everyone entered, they were only concerned about Yun Chujo and the array leaf. They really did not notice the condition of the groove. At this moment, they came near the array plate and looked at the groove. They were all dumbfounded. At least half of the 6-star dark spirit stones in the groove were gone. Who did this? At this moment, Yun Chujia's faint voice came from behind them. Those dark spirit stones were used up when I used the secret technique. Fortunately, God bless me that I succeeded when I drew the 5th piece. Otherwise, the dark spirit stones in the groove would not be enough for me to use. Everyone, they could not say a word at the moment. Yun Chujia's words had silenced them. Saying that she was a waste. She had already said that it was God's blessing that she succeeded in drawing 5 pieces. Although some people felt that there might be something fishy going on, they could not say anything when they saw the array leaf that was successfully drawn. After all, no one had seen her hide the dark spirit stones with their own eyes. Just when everyone was speechless, Yun Chujo said loudly, "However, this incident has reminded me that these 6-star dark spirit stones are all priceless treasures. If they were just placed casually, no one would notice even if they threw a few pieces. So, Manager Sun, you'd better find something to cover the groove and then send the ghost messenger to guard here." Manager Sun felt that what Yun Chujo said made a lot of sense, so he immediately nodded and agreed. At first, Chu Feng wondered why Yun Chujo was so kind. However, on second thought, since junior sister Yun was so warm-hearted, could it be that she had already taken these dark spirit stones as her own? After all, there were still a few cracked formation leaves on the formation disc. If she used the excuse of helping to draw the formation leaves again, wouldn't she be able to get another one? When everyone saw that the matter was settled, they left one after another. Moreover, as they could hold on for a longer period of time, they felt a little lighter. Although many people were interested in Yun Chujia's so-called secret technique, no one asked. The reason was very simple. They were afraid that they would be forced to draw the formation leaves after they learned it. The next morning, Yun Chujo woke up and put on a sickly makeup before leaving the room. Although Elder Duanmu and the others thought that Yun Chujia's craziness yesterday was a little exaggerated, they still believed that her spiritual sense was injured. Now that they saw her appearance, they were even more sure that she was seriously injured. "Since you're not feeling well, you should rest in the room. Don't come out," Elder Duanmu said with a frown. Yun Chujo clutched her chest and coughed a few times before saying, "I have to change the array leaf today. I have to go to the core of the array to take a look. I used my life to draw the array leaf. I won't be at ease if I don't see it with my own eyes." Elder Duanmu and the others didn't say anything more when they heard this. It was understandable. If they were in Yun Chujia's shoes, they would also go and take a look. Elder Duanmu and the others didn't go with her because there would be a gap in the protective array when the array leaf was changed. People with high spirit energy like them had to take care of it to prevent some people from losing their lives. Therefore, only Chu Feng and Xiao Yu followed Yun Chujo to the ghost city of Tao Tai. Island Master Qi was so angry that he gritted his teeth when he saw Xiao Yu follow Yun Chujo again. When he came back yesterday, he had already reprimanded Xiao Yu and told her to stay away from Yun Chujo, but she actually followed him obediently. He was really angered to death. Chapter 4197, Water Shortage. After the three of them left the King of Hell's residence, Xiaoyu could not help but sneer when she saw Yun Chujiu's weak look. Enough, stop pretending. Yun Chujiu humphed and said, Little Moon, you're really hurting my heart. I'm already like this, yet you still maligned me. I don't want to live anymore. Xiaoyu could not be bothered with her and quickened her pace. Chu Feng hesitated for a moment and took 2 steps to catch up, saying dryly, Is the wound on your neck all right? Didn't I? Xiaoyu looked at him speechlessly. All right, didn't you just want to say it wasn't intentional? You've already said it a few hundred times, can you not be so wishy-washy? Chu Feng's face stiffened and he was so embarrassed that he didn't speak. Yun Chujiu, who was at the back, looked at the 2 people in front of her. Her eyes flashed. Oh, there seemed to be an affair. When the 3 of them arrived at the ghost city of Tao Tai, the array masters were carefully disassembling the severely damaged array leaf. Although it was an ancient array formation, the principle of disassembling the array leaf was similar. The array masters worked together and very quickly disassembled the array leaf. Then, they began to install the array leaf that Yun Chujiu had drawn. Yun Chujiu walked around the disassembled array leaf a few times and looked at it carefully from front to back. She felt that there was something wrong with the array leaf, but she couldn't tell what it was at the moment. She originally wanted to bring the array leaf back to study it, but the array masters tried their best to stop her. The reason was very simple. They all wanted to copy the runes on it and study it slowly in the future. Seeing this, Yun Chujiu did not insist and left with Chu Feng and Xiaoyu. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. Although the array disc looked rather sturdy, there was an even more serious problem in front of everyone, which was the lack of water. Food was easy to deal with. After all, a fasting pill could last for a few days, but it could not do without water. The water used in the ghost city was brought by the people of the ghost city of Tao Tai from outside. After so many days of use, there were only a few left. Although those cultivators also brought some water, they didn't bring too much. Therefore, as time passed, the entire ghost city became a water shortage. Island Master Qi and the other people with water spirit roots began to absorb water spirit energy from water-type spirit stones and then make some water for everyone to drink. However, this could only solve the immediate problem, and wasn't a long-term solution. The ghost city was shrouded in the shadow of death. They did not expect to die of thirst here instead of being killed by the sandstorm of death in the end. It was really frustrating. Hei Xinjiu naturally did not lack water. There was plenty of water in the Great Void Mystic Realm, but it was a sin to have a treasure. Of course, this fellow would not foolishly tell everyone that he had water. At most, he would make a basin of water for Elder Duanmu and the others. He would say that he had stored the water in his storage ring. Elder Duanmu and the rest did not have any doubts. After all, this fellow could even store hundreds of sacks of chili flour, so it was normal for him to store some water. On this day, everyone gathered to discuss. Someone said, Bah! Those people outside are really nothing. We have been trapped for so long, and no one has thought of a way to come and save us. Elder Dongfang smiled bitterly. This is not their fault. The sandstorm of death is so brutal. Even if they wanted to, they would be powerless. The person who had spoken earlier also knew this logic. They were just complaining a little. Coming in was akin to throwing away their lives. Who would be stupid enough to come in and throw away their lives? Everyone sighed. If they rushed out, they would die. If they stayed here, they would die. Was there no way to survive? Chapter 4198, Hei Xinjiu, who was despised Yun Chujiu rested her chin on her hand as she listened. She was not afraid. At most, she could enter the Great Void Mystic Realm and hide. She could only come out when the sandstorm of death stopped, but Elder Duanmu and the others could not. Was there really no way out? At this moment, Elder Jia of the Flying Flower Island sighed and said, Speaking of which, it's really unfortunate. This sandstorm of death is 3 years ahead of schedule, and it's not over yet. What the heck? Yeah, according to the records, this sandstorm of death would be over in 3 to 5 days. Why did it take so long this time? And it doesn't seem to have stopped. It can't be that it's really going on, right? Elder Dongfang echoed. At this time, an elder of the Chaotian sect said, could it be because of that bead? Didn't they say that once that bead appeared in the world, people would be plunged into misery? Island Master Chi frowned. He retorted, nonsense. Previously, when that bead of your Chaotian sect went missing, I didn't hear anything unusual happened. Moreover, the bead of the ghost city of Tao Tai was obtained a long time ago. If something happened, it would have happened a long time ago. The elder of Chaotian sect was rendered speechless by Island Master Chi. He immediately became listless and didn't dare to speak anymore. Yun Chuzhou, on the other hand, had a different opinion of Island Master Chi. Right now, everyone was like a cornered beast. Once this statement was spread out, it would immediately disintegrate everyone's will. Therefore, regardless of whether it was true or not, he would try his best to refute this point. This fellow's expression changed as he thought about it. Chu Fang, who was beside her, saw her unsightly expression and said with concern, Junior Sister Yun, is your spiritual sense hurting again? If you're not feeling well, you should go back to your room and rest. Yun Chuzhou nodded, got up, and went back to her room. She gritted her teeth. The reason why her expression changed so much was because she remembered something from the words of the elder of Chaotian sect. Earlier, after the black bead swallowed the 2 beads, it was still boasting in her dantian. It took her a lot of effort to suppress it. However, the unusual thing was that after she was forced back to Ghost City by the sandstorm of death, the black bead didn't move at all. Even after she coaxed and scolded it, it didn't move at all. Could it be that the sandstorm of death was brought forward and did not subside for a long time because of the black pearl? Or could it be that the black pearl knew something but was not willing to tell her? So it was playing dead? The more Yun Chuzhou thought about it, the more suspicious she felt. Although the black pearl was usually a freeloader, it was definitely not a kind person. Back then in the forbidden ground of the Palace of Immortals, the black pearl had sucked all the Han Dun Qi into it. Could it be that the sandstorm of death was really caused by it? Thinking of this, Yun Chuzhou quickly looked inside her dantian and saw that the black bead was floating in a corner of her dantian. There was no movement at all. Yun Chuzhou shouted sternly, Glass ball, don't play dead. Does this sandstorm of death have anything to do with you? If you don't give me an explanation today, I will. He Xinjiu then realized that she did not seem to have anything to threaten the black bead, so she could only calm down and coax her, Ball, don't you want to find other beads? If we are trapped here forever, I can't help you find other beads, can I? So you'd better let the sandstorm of death subside. It was unknown whether it was a coincidence or Yun Chujia's words that worked, but the black bead had a reaction. However, the emotions that Yun Chuzhou sensed in her spiritual sense almost angered her to death. The damn black bead actually despised her. What right did a broken bead have to despise her? Shameless. Chapter 4199, The Hint of the Black Bead. Even though Yun Chuzhou wished that she could get the black bead out and smash it into pieces, she still had a favor to ask of the bead. She could only smile and say, Little ball, of course I'm not as smart as you. After all, you have an extraordinary background, don't you? You big ball don't care about small people. Either calm down this death sandstorm or show me the way out. After I get out, I'll definitely try my best to find other beads for you. I think the Nameless Sword sect should have one. I'll make sure to get it for you when we get out. I think the other sects also have one. I'll get it for you when the time comes. I'll make sure you eat it until you're white and fat. Ah, black and fat. Yun Chuzhou immediately felt the disdain in her mind turn into excitement. This fellow thought to herself, what a small thing. I don't believe I can't win against your stupid pearl. Just as Yun Chuzhou was thinking, the black bead trembled. Yun Chujia's dantian was slightly in pain, but she did not quite understand the black bead's intention. Although she could feel the black bead's vague emotions, she could not communicate with it. She could only guess what the black bead meant. After guessing for a long time, she finally understood that the black bead wanted to bring her to a place, so this fellow left the house. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu saw Yun Chuzhou rush out and quickly followed curiously. Junior sister Yun, where are you going? Aren't you feeling unwell? Chu Feng asked with concern. Yun Chuzhou thought to herself that she did not know where she was going, so she said vaguely, the room is too stuffy and the atmosphere is a little oppressive. It's better to go out for a walk. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu believed her when they heard that. The atmosphere in the inn was indeed very depressing, and they could not stand it. However, after a while, they found that Yun Chuzhou would go east, turn back, and not turn back. What was she doing? Could it be that she had gone mad again? Yun Chuzhou was also very miserable. She didn't know where the black bead wanted to take her, so she could only choose a direction. The black bead would tremble if it felt that something was wrong, so she had to turn back and choose a new direction. After a long time, they reached the ghost city of Tao Tai. Yun Chuzhou thought to herself, did the black bead bring her here because it swallowed 2 beads? Was this foodie dreaming of finding a bead that had slipped through the net? Just as she was in a daze, the black bead trembled again and urged her to continue walking. With no other choice, Yun Chuzhou could only follow the black bead's instructions and continue walking forward. She did not expect to walk all the way to the edge of the deep pit, and it seemed like it wanted her to continue walking. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu thought that Yun Chuzhou was here to look at the array's core, so they did not have any doubts and jumped to the bottom of the pit. Yun Chuzhou had no choice but to jump down. As Yun Chuzhou and the other 2 often came here, the array masters were used to it and no one said anything. Only the elder array master nodded at Yun Chuzhou and the other 2. Yun Chuzhou was wondering why the black bead brought her here when her dantian was in pain again. She tried to wander around. Fortunately, the bottom of the pit was only so big. She quickly confirmed that the black pearl wanted her to get close to the dismantled array leaf. After Yun Chuzhou got close to the array leaf, no matter how Yun Chuzhou communicated with her spiritual sense, the black pearl did not respond. Yun Chuzhou could only look at the array leaf. What did the black pearl want to tell her? Chapter 4200, The Strange Array Disc. The array master who had crashed into the wall saw that Yun Chuzhou was in a daze, so he came over. He said with a slightly mocking tone, Miss Yun, you used a secret technique to draw a formation leaf previously. I wonder if you can draw 1/10 of it without using a secret technique now. Yun Chuzhou glanced at him. Of course I can't draw it. How can a good-for-nothing like me compare to you? Well, I've already asked Elder Duanmu and the others. As long as anyone is willing to spend their spiritual sense to draw the array leaf, I'll tell him the secret technique. I think you're not bad. Come, I'll tell you the secret technique right now. The man's face stiffened. He had seen with his own eyes that Yun Chuzhou almost went crazy after using the secret technique. He would only learn it if he was stupid. Thus, the man said dryly, I still have to study other array leaves. Take your time. Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips and did not say anything. Instead, she carefully looked at the array leaves in front of her. The last time she looked at it, she felt that there was something strange about it. However, after that, she forgot about it. What was wrong with it? She recalled that when she first discovered the core of the array, those array masters had said that the array disc was strange. It did not seem to be as simple as a protective array. Therefore, she cleared her throat and asked, Everyone, I remember that you once said that this array disc was a little strange. What exactly is wrong with it? When the array master who had crashed into the wall heard this, he immediately felt that this was a chance to win back a city. He immediately curled his lips and said, No wonder you can't see it. After all, you are an amateur. Look at the proportion of the array disc's main body and the array leaf. It's obviously not right. Normally, the formation disc's main body should only be 1/10 of the size of the formation leaf, but this formation disc's main body is even bigger than the formation leaf. It's really strange. There's also the formation leaf. Although we don't know the ancient runes on it, we still know the connecting runes. There are 2 types of formations drawn on it. Logically speaking, this should be a defensive formation. Why are there 2 types of formations? It's really puzzling. Yun Chujo looked at the array disc when she heard that. It was just as he said. The main body of the array disc was unusually big, even bigger than the array leaf. It wasn't that she had never seen an ancient formation disc before, but it was the first time she had seen an array disc with such proportions. Her gaze fell on the array leaf again. She finally realized why she felt that this array leaf was a little strange. It was because the upper and lower halves of the runes didn't seem to belong to the same type of runes. Although she didn't recognize it. However, her keen perception of the talisman seal still allowed her to sense the strangeness within it. Chu Fang, who was listening at the side, only understood a little. He pointed at the groove that contained the dark spirit stone and said, "The reason why the main body of the array disc is so big, could it be that it wants to put more dark spirit stones?" Yun Chujo glanced at him. That groove only takes up 1/5 of the main body of the array disc. If you want to put more dark spirit stones, you can completely cultivate it into a groove. Why waste such a large area? As Yun Chujo said this, her heart was moved. Could there be something fishy in the remaining parts of the main body of the disc array? Could there be a secret hidden inside? She walked to the disc array and took out a rolling pin to knock on it. From the sound, she could tell that there was nothing inside. Could she have guessed wrong? Therefore, she walked to the other side to knock on it. The formation master who knocked on the wall saw Yun Chujo using the rolling pin to knock on the main body of the formation plate and said unhappily, "Yun Chujo, what are you doing? If you accidentally break the main body of the formation plate, can you bear it?" Crack. A crack appeared on the main body of the formation plate and spread continuously. Chapter 4201 was trying to scam her. The array master who crashed into the wall was stunned. Hei Shinjo was stunned. The others were also stunned. Everyone watched as the cracks grew bigger and bigger, and the main body of the array board was in a state of cracking, as if it was about to shatter completely. Hei Shinjo felt as if her heart was bickering with a dog. Heaven and earth, she had only knocked lightly a few times. Was there a need to play this trick on her? Was it a scam? Her mind was blank at first, then it quickly started to operate. If the main body of the disc array was destroyed, then the disc array would also be destroyed. If the disc array was destroyed, then the Ghost City's protective array would also be destroyed. If the Ghost City's protective array was destroyed, then the people in the Ghost City would also die. In this way, wouldn't she become a sinner for all eternity? However, what should she do now? How could she stop the cracking speed of the main body of the disc array? In a moment of desperation, she took out the silk net from the ball of yarn and threw it at the main body of the disc array. It was unknown whether the silk net worked or if the cracking happened to reach a certain degree, but the cracking of the disc array finally stopped. Hei Shinjo let out a sigh of relief. No matter what, the main body of the disc array was saved for the time being. After a dead silence, the array master who crashed into the wall said in exasperation, "Yun Chujo. Look at what you've done. If the main body of the disc array is destroyed, we will all die together." Hei Shinjo felt a little guilty, so she did not say anything. She just frowned and looked at the cracks on the main body. The elderly array master said, "This should be a coincidence. Miss Yun only knocked on the disc array a few times just now. How could the main body of the disc array be cracked?" The other array masters immediately retorted, "Coincidence? Nothing happened for so many days. How could something happen to her when she knocked? What a troublemaker." Chu Fang coldly said from the side, "Do you have a conscience? If junior sister Yun hadn't found the array core and spent her spiritual sense to draw the array leaf, you would have died by now." Those people looked a little embarrassed. Someone said, 1 yard is 1 yard. She found the array core and drew the array leaf. We are naturally grateful to her. But it's wrong for her to break the main body of the array disk. That's right. If she didn't find the array core or draw the array leaf, we might not have died. But now, once the array disk is broken, we really won't be able to live. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu were almost angered to death by these people's shamelessness. What a bunch of ingrates. At this moment, Ghost Messenger had already run to report the matter to Manager Sunday. Upon hearing that the array disk's main body was cracked, Manager Sun immediately rushed over with his men and even informed Island Master Qi and the others. Everyone arrived very quickly. They looked at the crack on the main body of the formation disk and then looked at the guilty-looking He Xinjiu. They really wanted to strangle her to death. However, they were all influential figures. When they thought of Yun Chujia's previous contributions, it did not seem good to turn hostile now. Therefore, many people remained silent. Island Master Qi had always disliked Yun Chujio, so he naturally did not have any scruples. He snorted coldly and said, Yun Chujio, although you have made great contributions in the past, do you know that because of your nonsense, we have to follow you to our deaths? Yun Chujio had 100 words that could kill Island Master Qi, but this guy was more or less guilty, so it was rare that he did not say anything. Manager Sun felt his head buzzing, but he was the person in charge, so he naturally had to come out to maintain the scene, so he said, everyone, the matter has already happened, there's no point in pursuing it now. Why don't we discuss how to prevent the main body of the disk from continuing to crack? Is there any way to reinforce it? Chapter 4202, The protective array was completely broken. The array masters shook their heads. The array leaves can be strengthened, but it's too difficult to strengthen the main body of the array disk, especially since the main body of the array disk is much larger than normal. Even now, we don't dare to use it lightly, not to mention that there's no way to strengthen it. The main body of the array disk cracked very quickly just now. It might be completely broken if we touch it. That's right. The sticky silk net that Yun Chujio took out is light and sticky. That's why it can temporarily stop the cracks. If we use other methods, we might really break the main body of the formation plate completely. While everyone was discussing, Yun Chujio said weakly, since the sticky silk net is useful, leave the sticky silk on any of you to me. I'll weave the net. Everyone stared at her when they heard that. Do you think everyone is as perverted as you? Who would collect this thing for no reason? Without the sticky web, there was no other way, so everyone could only gather around the array board and sigh. The array master who crashed into the wall saw that Yun Chujio was still standing beside the main body of the array board. He was instantly furious. Yun Chujio, why are you still standing there? Do you want to knock a few more times? Do you know that because of your nonsense, we're all going to die because of you? You jinx. Yun Chujio originally thought that although she did not do it on purpose, the cracking of the formation disc was somehow related to her, so she had been holding it in and did not say anything. Now that she saw that he was not going to let it go, this fellow could not stand it anymore. Shut the fuck up. Let's not talk about whether this cracking has anything to do with me. Even if it does, do you have the right to criticize me? Now that you are so capable, where did you go when you were looking for the formation core? Where did you go when you were drawing the formation leaf? What right do you have to criticize me, a coward who is afraid of death? If you continue to complain, I will smash this formation plate into pieces. No one will be able to live anymore. Yun Chujio took out a rolling pin as she spoke. To be honest, she wanted to scare the formation master who had crashed into the wall. However, she did not expect to step on a small stone and her body staggered, the rolling pin in her hands smashed onto the body of the formation plate. Crack! 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 The main body of the array board started to crack again. Moreover, the speed was much faster than before. The sticky silk net covering it could not stop the main body of the array board from continuing to crack. He Xinjiu felt as if she was cursing a dog in her heart. What kind of dog shit luck did she have? She was so unlucky. Everyone was shocked by this turn of events. For a moment, they were stunned on the spot and watched as the main body of the array board continued to crack. They had already imagined the ending of them being strangled by the sandstorm of death. Their minds were filled with fear. They didn't even have the time to hate Yun Chujo. It was over. They were really going to die this time. Yun Chujo was the fastest to react. She shouted, "Don't just stand there. Hurry up and activate the temporary protective array." "Are we going to wait for death here?" Manager Sun finally reacted. He immediately ordered the array masters to activate the temporary protective array. Although the temporary protective array was much weaker than the one in Ghost City and the area it covered was much smaller, it could still last for 2 days. Fortunately, the core of the temporary protective array was not far from the Ghost City of Tao Tai. This was understandable because the people of the Ghost City of Tao Tai naturally had selfish motives and wanted to protect the Ghost City of Tao Tai. Therefore, the Ghost City of Tao Tai was completely under the protection of the temporary protective array. At this time, the main body of the array disk was completely broken, and the array leaves installed on it fell off one after another. As the array leaves fell off, the protective array of the Ghost City began to break and eventually completely disappeared. Chapter 4203, Stone Tablet. Seeing this, everyone turned to look at the instigator with resentment. Hei Shinjo wanted to explain, but she knew that the more she explained, the worse it would get. She was really unlucky. Elder Duanmu and the other two silently approached Yun Chujo. The reason was simple. They were afraid that someone would harm Yun Chujo in the face of public anger. At this moment, another person leaped to the bottom of the pit. It was Tower Master Luochen. He had just heard about this matter and was worried that people would find trouble with Yun Chujo, so he hurried over. "Little Joe, I have something to ask you. Come with me." Tower Master Luochen said this because he wanted to take Yun Chujo away from here so that there wouldn't be any conflict. Moreover, the temporary protective array could only last for 2 days. In the end, if there was really no other way, he would use a secret technique to send Yun Chujo away. Yun Chujo did not reply. Instead, she looked at the broken array disk with a somewhat dull gaze. Seeing that she did not say anything, Tower Master Luochen took a few steps closer to her. He stretched out his hand to grab her arm, but he did not expect Yun Chujo to jump onto the broken array disk's main body. Then, he stored the 6-star Dark Spirit stones into his storage ring. Everyone, including Elder Duanmu and the others, was so angry that their noses almost went crooked. "How greedy were you? At this time, you still didn't forget to take advantage of me. Are you planning to save them for the Hell King's palace flower?" After Yun Chujo kept the Dark Spirit stones, she also kept the array disk's main pieces and the array leaves into her storage rings. Everyone was speechless. They were convinced that she was so greedy. When everyone was about to take care of Hei Shinjo, they were surprised to find that after Yun Chujo kept all the things, what was revealed below was not sand but a huge stone slab. To be precise, the stone slab was only 1 circle smaller than the main body of the array board. Judging from the material, it was the same as the stone used for the city wall, which was also a giant black stone. The few array masters who were left exclaimed, "Ah! No wonder the main body of the array board of the Ghost City Defense Array is much larger than the ordinary one. It is to hide the stone slab below. In that case, other than the other array on the array leaf, it is most likely a concealment array. The purpose of the concealment array is to hide the stone slab. Do you guys feel it? There seems to be an unusual aura underneath this stone tablet." "You're right. Could it be that the formation plate from before has the function of a seal as well as a protective formation? Oh my god, could there be something terrifying being imprisoned underneath?" Yun Chujo stared at the stone tablet in a daze. The emotions that the black bead conveyed to her were a little conflicted. It seemed like it did not want her to lift the stone tablet, but it wanted her to lift the stone tablet. Yun Chujo gritted her teeth. At this point, she could only take a gamble. She walked forward and wanted to lift the stone tablet, but she was immediately stopped by everyone. "Yun Chujo, stop. Do you still think that you haven't caused enough trouble? All of this is your fault. That's right. If there is something terrifying inside, once it is opened, the consequences will be unimaginable. That's right. Since there's an ancient formation suppressing this place, it means that the thing below must be extraordinary. If it's released, it'll be a disaster. Yun Chujo glanced at them and sneered, if it weren't for the people I care about, do you think that I would be willing to risk my life to get involved in this mess? You're not blind, and you're not blind either. Naturally, you know that I didn't do it on purpose. So, if anyone tries to smear me again, don't blame me for being impolite. Now, I have no other choice. Even if I don't open this stone tablet, the spirit stone protective array can only last for 2 days. If that's the case, why not take a gamble? Chapter 4204 Disappeared Yun Chujia's body emitted a cold killing intent. Those people subconsciously moved aside, allowing Yun Chujio to bend over and lift the stone slab. Tower Master Luchen's expression was a little gloomy. He naturally didn't think that he was one of the people that Yun Chujio mentioned that she cared about. If she cared about her, she wouldn't not even look at him. He originally thought that this time he could finally let Yun Chujio realize his deep feelings for her. In the end, it seemed like he was unnecessary. No matter how unfavorable the situation was for her, she could still control the situation. There was no need for him at all. However, he looked at Yun Chujio with even more fervent eyes. The woman he liked was naturally extraordinary. Only such a woman was worthy of him giving everything he had. Just as Tower Master Luochen was thinking, everyone let out a cry of surprise, because everyone watched Yun Chujio disappear on the spot. To be precise, when she lifted the stone slab, there seemed to be a huge suction force sucking her in, and then the stone slab was covered once again. Chu Feng and Xiao Yu hurriedly went to lift the stone slab, but they realized that no matter how hard they tried, they were unable to move the stone slab in the slightest. It didn't make sense. Yun Chujio didn't seem to have used much strength just now, so why couldn't they lift it? Elder Duanmu and the others quickly came over to help, but they found that they still couldn't move the stone slab. What was going on? I guess there's an array formation on the stone slab, or there's a restriction under it. That's why we can't move it, an array formation master guessed. That's not right. How could Yun Chujio be able to move it? Someone asked in confusion. Everyone stared at each other in confusion. That's right. How could Yun Chujio be able to move the stone slab? Everyone was puzzled. Someone gloated, this is also retribution. She probably lost her life. If it wasn't for her, we would at least be able to hold on for a period of time. Perhaps the sandstorm of death would have stopped. Chu Feng couldn't take it anymore and went up to fight with that person. Do you have a conscience? If it wasn't for junior sister Yun, you would have died long ago. How dare you curse junior sister Yun? I'll strangle you to death. Xiao Yu also kicked that person a few times. Although she hated that trash Yun Chujio, she didn't know why, but her heart was filled with anxiety. Manager's son looked at the mess in front of him and even wanted to die. However, he couldn't give up. Even if there was a chance of survival, he had to persevere. Perhaps the sandstorm of death would stop tomorrow. At this time, everyone had already pulled the array master who had been beaten into a pig's head to the side. Chu Feng was also stopped by Elder Gu. Manager Sun sighed and said, everyone has seen the current situation. The temporary protective array can last for at most 2 days. If we grit our teeth and plug the loophole, we might be able to last for another day or 2. There might be a miracle. Therefore, everyone needs to work together to protect the protective array. Don't bother about other things. Hearing this, everyone knew that Manager Sun's words made sense, so they could only nod their heads in agreement. To be honest, both Manager Sun and the others felt that Yun Chujio was very likely dead. After all, the thing that was suppressed by the ancient array formation must be very terrifying, so there was no chance for her to survive. Therefore, everyone left the deep pit and went to inspect the spirit stone protective array. Tower Master Luochen hesitated for a moment, but he still left with the people of the 9 pavilions. He subconsciously felt that Yun Chuzhou would be fine. What he needed to do now was to survive so that he could have a chance to be with her. In the end, only Chu Fang and Xiao Yu stayed behind. Chapter 4205, A Glimmer of Hope. Island Master Qi wanted to say something, but upon thinking that it was very likely that he would not have a good few days left, he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue and left with a warning glare at Chu Fang. Chu Fang felt goosebumps from being stared at, and for some reason, he felt a little guilty. This feeling was as if he had stolen someone's things. Xiao Yu did not notice Island Master Qi's gaze. Her voice trembled as she said, "Say, do you think that trash Yun Chuzhou will really die?" "Of course junior sister Yun will not die. She has a stomach full of evil. Even if she encounters something terrifying, she will be able to turn the situation around. Who knows who will be the scapegoat?" Chu Fang said with certainty. Xiao Yu glanced at him, clearly not believing his words. Although that trash had a lot of bad ideas, the things below must be very terrifying. Could she handle it? After a moment of silence, Chu Fang stammered, You don't have to worry. I believe that junior sister Yun will be fine, and we won't die. Xiao Yu was not as optimistic as he was. She gave a faint man did not say anything. Although the people trapped in the ghost city wanted time to pass more slowly, 2 days passed very quickly. The temporary protective array began to crack, and everyone desperately used all sorts of things to seal the crack. The roof of the ghost city of Tao Tai had also collapsed by more than half. Fortunately, Chu Fang and the others were temporarily safe. Another 2 days passed, and the temporary protective array was already riddled with holes and was on the verge of collapse. Island Master Qi saw that Xiao Yu and Chu Fang had not made any movements, so he came over in a fluster to look for them. He jumped into the deep pit and grabbed Xiao Yu's arm, shouting, "Do you want to wait for death here? Go, follow me, at least I can protect you a little." Xiao Yu bit her lips. Although she felt that Yun Chuzhou might not die, she could no longer stay here since things had come to this point. She looked at Chu Fang with a pale face. "We can't hold on until that trash comes back. Let's go." At this moment, Elder Gu also rushed over. The temporary protective array was about to be breached. Although he knew there was no way out, he still wanted to give it his all. At least, he wanted to fight for a way out for his disciple. Chu Fang had no choice but to get up and leave with them. The 4 of them had just jumped onto the deep pit when the temporary protective array was completely broken. Wild sand and huge wind blades swept towards the 4 of them. Island Master Qi and Elder Gu hurriedly set up their spiritual energy shields. The 2 of them looked at each other. They were afraid that there was really no way out this time. They could only hold on for 15 minutes at most before they died of exhaustion. At this moment, Chu Fang exclaimed, Master, look! Those wind blades don't seem to be able to reach the deep pit." Island Master Qi and the other 2 subconsciously looked down at the deep pit. They saw that those wind blades could only affect the top of the deep pit at most. Other than some sand, there were no wind blades at all. Island Master Qi and Elder Gu looked at each other and revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. They said to Chu Fang and Xiao Yu, "Go down and hide first. We will inform the others." Xiao Yu and Chu Fang didn't try to be brave. Even in Ghost City, everyone's spiritual power would be suppressed. Island Master Qi and Elder Gu's spiritual power reserves were much stronger than theirs, so they would be a burden if they followed them. Soon, many people jumped to the bottom of the deep pit. This was also thanks to the fact that the Tao Tai Ghost City was in the center of the temporary protective array. When Island Master Qi and Elder Gu went out to shout, most people heard them. Everyone escaped from death. Many people hugged each other and wept. They thought they were dead for sure, but they didn't expect that there was a slim chance of survival in the end. Chapter 4206, trapped in a deep pit. After a while, everyone calmed down a little and began to discuss. I didn't expect that the wind blades wouldn't be able to blow into the deep pit. If I had known earlier, we would have dug our way out. Forget it. The bottom of this ghost city isn't full of sand, so we can dig a hole. But the outside is full of sand, and the sand is flowing. How did you dig such a deep hole? That's right. The wind blades in this deep pit can't blow in. Who knows if this is the situation in the desert outside? Manager's son didn't participate in their discussion. Instead, he roughly counted the number of people. Although the time just now was very short, there were still some casualties. Fortunately, most of the casualties were wandering cultivators. Island Master Chi and the others didn't suffer any injuries. Because the space at the bottom of the pit was limited, people were close to each other, and some people could only stand sideways. Manager's son coughed twice and said, "Everyone, our top priority now is to expand the area of this deep pit. This way, it will be more convenient for everyone." Everyone felt that what he said made sense, so they immediately worked together to expand the deep pit. Chu Fang mumbled to Xiao Yu, "See. Those people were still blaming Junior Sister Yun. If it wasn't for Junior Sister Yun insisting on digging this deep pit to look for the array disc, they would have died a long time ago." When some people heard Chu Fang's words, their faces revealed some unnaturalness. They wanted to retort that if it wasn't for Yun Chujio, the protective array wouldn't have been broken, but when they remembered that the protective array was also discovered by Yun Chujio, they held back their words. Since they were already dead, what was the point of saying all this? After expanding the deep pit a little, they sat down on the ground. Although their lives weren't in danger for the time being, the water shortage was serious now. Sooner or later, they would die of thirst if they weren't cut to death by the wind blades. Another 3 days passed, and their condition worsened. Firstly, they were short of water. Secondly, although the wind blades couldn't reach the bottom, the sand kept blowing down, making them unable to open their eyes. Fortunately, these people were all cultivators, and their willpower was much stronger than ordinary people. Otherwise, they would have collapsed long ago. Chu Fang called Xiao Yu to a corner and passed her a spirit fruit under the cover of his sleeve. "This was given to me by Junior Sister Yun previously. Eat it." Xiao Yu subconsciously swallowed her saliva. Although their master-disciple water spirit root was a little stronger than the others, it only guaranteed that they would not die of thirst. This spirit fruit was too attractive to her. However, she had always been proud and wouldn't accept it, so she said with a cold face, "I'm not thirsty. You can eat it yourself." Chu Fang forcefully stuffed the spirit fruit into Xiao Yu's hand. "Just take it as compensation for the slash I gave you previously. Don't worry, I still have a few more here." Xiao Yu looked at Chu Fang's cracked and bleeding lips, as well as his clearly guilty gaze, and her heart inexplicably trembled. She wasn't stupid, so she naturally understood that Chu Fang was lying. He only had this one spirit fruit in his hand. Now that a great disaster was approaching, other than Master's usual love for her, those senior and junior brothers who had been circling around her before were all minding their own business, not to mention Tower Master Luo Chen, who did not even look at her. Only this fool was either helping her block the raging sand, or helping her keep watch, and now he had given her the only spirit fruit. Chu Fang saw that Xiao Yu's eyes were a little red and immediately said somewhat anxiously, "Did the sand scrape into your eyes? Quickly get behind me, I'll help you block it." Xiao Yu kept the spirit fruit into her storage ring and glared at him. "Fool." Then, she ran away. Chu Fang was completely confused as he foolishly scratched his hair. He could scold her as long as she accepted it. Chapter 4207, Be More Elegant. Another 3 days passed. Island Master Chi and the others had run out of water-type spirit stones, and they were completely out of water. Some people began to attack those who had low spiritual power. They had only one purpose, and that was to borrow their blood to survive. Manager's son led the ghost errand to kill those people, and only then did they temporarily calm down. However, everyone could predict that there would be people who would take the risk very soon. After all, in the face of life, some people did not care about ethics at all and only wanted to live. Xiao Yu split 6 portions of the spirit fruit Chu Fang gave her and secretly stuffed it to Island Master Qi, Elder Duanmu, and the others. When Chu Fang saw this, he looked at Xiao Yu with a burning gaze. He knew that although she was arrogant and domineering, she was still full of sincerity towards the people she cared about. When Island Master Qi saw Chu Fang's gaze, he curled his lips in disdain. However, he was not in the mood to teach Chu Fang a lesson in the current situation, so he pretended not to see anything. The people of Flying Flower Island all had water spirit roots. Although there was very little water spirit energy in the Desert of Death, they could still barely maintain their lives. However, they were powerless against the others. It was a sin to have a treasure. Therefore, the most important thing now was to form an alliance with the Nameless Sword sect. If the ghost messengers could not control the situation, they could at least work together to protect their own safety. Soon, everyone spontaneously gathered into 5 sections. Island Master Qi and Elder Duanmu were from the same sect. Manager Sun and the ghost messengers were from the same sect. They obviously had a backup plan. Although their lips were dry and cracked, they did not seem to be in danger. Tower Master Luochen seemed to have a backup plan as well, and the people from the 9 pavilions seemed to be fine. The people from the Xuanwu sect and Xuanji sect gathered together. The reason why they were able to survive was because they had managed to rope in a few water spirit root disciples from Ascension Island for mutual benefit. The rest of the people gathered together in 2s and 3s. They were all small and medium-sized sects or unaffiliated cultivators. After another 2 days, those itinerant cultivators began to fight for the meager amount of water. This time, Manager Sun did not let Ghost Messenger suppress them. He could foresee that in the end, it was very likely that the remaining people would engage in a fierce battle. Therefore, the most important thing now was to preserve their strength. No one wanted to die. The good and evil of human nature were undoubtedly revealed at this time. There was the friendship of fellow disciples, the relationship between master and disciple, the feelings of a man and a woman, as well as the unscrupulous means to survive. Chu Fang looked at the people fighting with a slightly dull expression. He hoped that Yun Chujiu could create a miracle and return safely. She might even come back with a way to save everyone. This was because he could foresee that if they really started fighting in the end, no one would survive. Achoo! Achoo! Could it be that senior brother Chu and the others are still alive? Otherwise, why would someone scold me? Logically speaking, it has already been 12 days. The temporary protective array could not hold on for a long time. Could it be that they were saved? Sigh, although I was cheated, if they really died, I still feel a little guilty. Hey! Go Weiba, lie down gently. I'm such an elegant person, why does it seem like I'm lying on my back like you? The one who spoke was a purple phantom, or more accurately, a mini Yun Chujiu. She floated in the air and looked at Yun Chujiu on the ground with a look of disgust. Yun Chujiu on the ground adjusted her posture when she heard that. Yes, she lied on the ground. Chapter 4208 had become a drifter. Yun Chujiu looked at her body that was like a little bastard and was so angry that she was twitching. She suddenly rushed towards her body, but unfortunately, she passed through it directly. It seemed that she was still unable to return to her body. Yun Chujiu reluctantly floated back into the air, feeling miserable in her heart. She glared at Yun Chujiu, who was on the ground and cursed, "You vulgar dog tail, is this how I usually sleep?" Yun Chujiu, who was on the ground, turned over and rolled her eyes at Yun Chujiu, returning to her previous posture of sprawled on the ground. Yun Chujiu was so angry that she was twitching, but now she still had to rely on Guai Chao to help her maintain her life, so she could only mumble a few words without saying a word. This fellow's heart was as bitter as Huang Lian's. She had been really unlucky recently. She recalled what had happened before. That day, she bent down to lift up the stone slab. She had thought that the stone slab would be very heavy. After all, it was such a huge black stone. She did not expect that it would be opened without much effort. Then, she was sucked in by a huge suction force. This fellow had experienced this countless times. Therefore, the moment she felt that something was wrong, she took out her kitchen knife and the emergency backup bag that she had specially placed in her storage ring. The emergency backup bag contained water hyacinth, several bottles of fasting pills, hemostasis pills, flint, and ropes. By the time she wanted to take out little Wu Yun, she could no longer use her spiritual power. This was not the worst part. The worst part was that after passing through a passage ravaged by a storm, she tragically discovered that her primordial spirit had left her body. Then, she was thrown into this damned place. She did not know where this damned place was. The surroundings were filled with black fog, the ground was covered with gravel, and not a single blade of grass grew. Yun Chujiu was afraid that her physical body would starve to death, so she had no choice but to let Guai Chao come out to control her body. She did not expect Guai Chao, that glutton, to swallow the fasting pills and hemostatic pills all at once. Yun Chujiu almost died from anger. However, fortunately, Guai Chao could secrete juice, so it could also maintain its life. Yun Chujiu had once directed Guai Chao to leave this place, but she realized that there was an invisible barrier around her. She directed Guai Chao to use a large kitchen knife to cut it for a few days, but there was no effect at all. She could only ask the black bead for help. Unfortunately, she found that she had lost contact with the black bead, and she could not even communicate with the great void mirror. In the first few days, she was very anxious because she was worried about the people in the ghost city. Later on, she had also broken all the rules. Now that she could not even protect herself, she had to think of a way to save herself first. Guai Chao was a little secretly happy. It was rare that he could openly occupy He Xinjia's body and torture her. Yun Chujiu looked at her arms swinging back and forth like a leaf of grass and could not help but twitch the corner of her mouth. Although she wanted to curse Go Weiba, but now that she had a favor to ask of it, she could only endure. Yes. Patience was a virtue. Yun Chujiu sat cross-legged in the air, she held her chin and said, Go Weiba, this situation is very similar to the situation where you occupied my body previously. Can't you get me back? You have to know that if I was trapped here, you would not be able to absorb the power of lightning. Guai Chao rolled her eyes. She had asked the same question hundreds of times. This time, it really had nothing to do with it, okay. Even if she tried to trick it again, it wouldn't be able to do anything. Seeing this, Yun Chujiu sighed. Could this be karma for scolding those drifters? So she had also become a drifter. Chapter 4209, Ever-changing. After the Guai Chao took over Yun Chujiu's body, although it could move freely, it could not speak and could not use its spiritual power. Of course, there was no spiritual power here at all. Moreover, after a few days of showing off, the Guai Chao felt that Yun Chujiu's body was only so. It was not as good as its original body. When it swung its arm, it was not as elegant and beautiful as its leaves. It was extremely ugly. Moreover, being a human was really troublesome. When it reached a point, it would feel sleepy. Even if it did not want to sleep, it had to sleep. It was simply a waste of its life. Guai Chao grumbled as it fell into a deep sleep. If Yun Chujiu knew what this fellow was thinking, she would definitely be furious. How would it dare to look down on her? Shameless. Guai Chao had fallen asleep, but He Xinjiu, as a drifter, did not feel sleepy at all. It was also because this fellow had always been ambitious and was good at entertaining itself. If it was an ordinary person, they would have long collapsed. This fellow fell asleep after seeing strange things. First, he tried to burrow into his own body. After failing several times, he began to float around in the limited space. This fellow silently made up his mind. When he returned, he would definitely treat those drifters better. It turned out that being a drifter wasn't easy either. This feeling of not being able to step on solid ground was truly terrible. Thinking of the drifter, this fellow recalled that the drifter could transform into all sorts of shapes and could even transform into a treasured sword. Could she do it? Thus, she started to struggle. She didn't even think about it. You are a primordial spirit, while the drifter is filled with killing intent. How could it be the same? She continued to struggle until Guai Chao woke up, but she didn't make any progress. Instead, she made Guai Chao laugh so hard that she shook her arms. Yun Chujiu snorted coldly. What are you laughing at? Wasn't the primordial spirit just a small dot in the beginning? In the end, it turned into its original form, so it can definitely transform into something else. Guai Chao was stunned by this guy's twisted logic. After thinking about it, it seemed to make sense. However, he had never heard of anyone's primordial spirit being able to change its shape. Not to mention turning into a sword, even changing one's appearance was impossible. Yun Chujiu no longer paid attention to Guai Chao. She felt that her idea was feasible. To put it bluntly, primordial spirits were interwoven divine senses. This was not much different from the essence of the drifter. Therefore, since the drifter could do it, she should be able to do it too. If she wanted to change her shape, she had to separate her primordial spirit first before reassembling it. Thus, Guai Chao could only watch as He Xinjia's arm was broken, her legs were broken, and her head fell off. Guai Chao was so frightened that it trembled. Was the little girl's primordial spirit about to be destroyed? It did not matter if she died, but wouldn't it be trapped here forever? Just as Guai Chao was feeling uneasy, the arms, legs, and other parts gathered together again. However, the arms and legs were placed in the opposite positions. He Xinjiu was rolling in the air happily. It worked. Her idea could be completely realized. Moreover, perhaps it was because her primordial spirit was separated from her body, but she did not feel any pain when separating her primordial spirit. It was simply wonderful. After the guy was happy, he continued to disassemble his primordial spirit. This time, he disassembled it even more carefully. Guai Chao could only see many purple light spots. A moment later, Guai Chao looked at the grass floating in the air with a dumbfounded expression. Fuck, wasn't this what it looked like? Go Wei Ba, how is it? Does it look like it? Yun Chujiu shook the leaves of the grass and said proudly. Guai Chao looked at herself in the air and was extremely shocked. She actually did it. How was this possible? Chapter 42:10 The grandmother of the Guai Chao Yun Chujiu was having a great time in midair. At one moment, she was transforming into various demonic beasts, at the next moment, she was transforming into various tools, and she was even transforming into Di Baiming's appearance. However, this fellow discovered a problem. She could change her appearance, but the person or item she transformed into was purple in color. This was not good, as it would be too easy to be exposed. This fellow thought about it and cursed himself for being stupid. This primordial spirit usually did not come out, so what it transformed into was just for fun. What did it matter what color it was? This fellow struggled for a while, and then he caught a glimpse of Guai Chao's dumbfounded expression. This fellow said proudly, "How is it? I told you I could do it, right? Are you impressed by my intelligence?" Guai Chao finally came back to his senses. Although he was surprised, he looked like he could only do so much. Then, he started to swing his arms. He was not used to it. Yun Chujiu was proud for a while. Suddenly, she thought of something and turned her body into a sharp sword. Then, she thrust it at a nearby spot. Guai Chao pursed her lips. It had used a large kitchen knife to cut it a few thousand times, but it was useless. Could she pierce through it with a broken sword that was formed from her spiritual sense? If she could pierce through it, she would be its ancestor. Puchi. Guai Chao, it really pierced through it. Damn it, it had acknowledged its ancestors. Yun Chujiu was also very confused now, okay? She only had a thought just now, and then she tried it. It really could. This guy was afraid that after she stabbed it, the Guai Chao would fall here, so it stopped halfway. Go Weiba, come here. Go Weiba came over and was glad that it couldn't speak. Otherwise, if it had a grandmother, this little girl would laugh at it. Yun Chuzhou ordered Go Weiba to pick up the kitchen knife and cut at the gap that she had just stabbed. Perhaps because there was a breakthrough, it had an effect this time. Guai Chao swung the large kitchen knife and cut a few times. After that, the fog dispersed. Before Yun Chuzhou could see the scene in front of her clearly, she was sucked into her body by a huge suction force. Guai Chao saw that Yun Chuzhou's primordial spirit had entered her body again, so he hurriedly handed over the control of the body to Yun Chuzhou. This fellow now felt that it was quite good to be a blade of grass. Yun Chuzhou looked around and realized that she was actually in a desert. Moreover, it looked very familiar. Wasn't this the Sea of Death? Not far ahead, she could still see the remains of the ghost city. Although many things had been shattered by the wind blades, the city walls made of giant xian stones were very strong, so there were still many people standing there. They came out in a daze. Didn't they say that there was something terrifying sealed underneath? Where was that terrifying thing? This fellow recalled that after she was sucked in, there seemed to be a fork in the middle. Because her primordial spirit had left her body, she was sucked into the fork on the left. Could it be that that terrifying thing was locked in the fork on the right? At this moment, this fellow finally remembered something important. The sandstorm of death had stopped. Just as she was in a daze, she heard a hoarse cheer coming from afar. We're saved! We're saved! The sandstorm of death has really stopped. Quick, leave this place quickly. I'm dying of thirst. Right. Who knows if the sandstorm of death will start again? Hurry up and leave. I swear I'll never come here again. Chapter 42:11. The spirit of the play. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. The spirit of the play had appeared again. She took a large kitchen knife and cut her coat into a few pieces. A lot of blood was sprinkled on it, and she even rolled on the ground. This guy felt that it was about time, so he leaned on a huge xian stone and closed his eyes to stand up. Soon, the sound of hurried footsteps came from afar, then, someone exclaimed, "There's a corpse in front." Logically speaking, the corpse that was exposed outside should have been killed long ago. Why is there a complete corpse here? Oh my god, isn't that Yun Chuzhou? How did she die here? Wasn't she sucked under the stone slab? Her corpse is intact, which means that she appeared here after the sandstorm of death stopped. What's going on? When Elder Duanmu and the others heard everyone's discussion, they rushed to the front in a hurry. When they saw Yun Chuzhou lying there covered in blood, their hearts instantly sank. Although they also felt that Yun Chuzhou was doomed, there was still a trace of luck in their hearts. Now that they saw her body, the last bit of luck in their hearts was gone. Xiaoyu had imagined the situation of Yun Chuzhou dying at her hands countless times in the past, but now that she saw this scene, her heart felt extremely stifled. It wasn't too bad that everyone didn't notice that He Xinjiu was playing dead. This fellow had been holding his breath and had even taken off the spirit concealing ring in his hand. In addition to everyone's preconceptions, no one suspected that this fellow was playing dead. Tower Master Luochen walked at the back. When he heard everyone's words, he felt the world spin. With a few leaps, he arrived in front of everyone and saw Yun Chuzhou lying there silently. He saw Yun Chuzhou's pale face and her body was covered in blood. He felt a stuffy feeling in his chest and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The people from the 9 pavilions hurriedly supported him. Tower Master, what happened to you? Tower Master Luochen acted as if he didn't hear it and walked towards Yun Chuzhou's corpse. However, after taking a few steps, the dead Yun Chuzhou woke up. She looked at the crowd in a daze and said, "Are we all dead? That's good too. If we all die together, we can be considered to have a companion. You're the one who's dead. We're all alive and well, what's there to die for?" Xiao Yu said snappily, but in her heart, she heaved a sigh of relief. Although this trash was annoying, it was still better to live. Yun Chujo looked at everyone in disbelief, and then looked at the shadow beside her. She grinned foolishly and said, there's a shadow. I'm actually still alive. That's great. Tower Master Luochen stared at Yun Chujia's smile. He opened his mouth to say something, but in the end, he fainted. The people of the nine-tiered pavilion hurriedly fed and called for medicine. Yun Chujo looked at Tower Master Luochen with a complicated expression, and then turned her gaze back. At this time, Island Master Qi's eyes flashed and he asked, Yun Chujo, where have you been these days? Why are you here? Yun Chujo had a blank look on her face. I only remember that I went to flip that stone slab, and then I didn't know anything. Haven't we always been together? Otherwise, why would I be here? Island Master Qi and the others stared at Yun Chujia's expression. They saw that other than confusion and doubt in her eyes, there wasn't the slightest bit of guilt. They thought to themselves, could it be that what she said was true? Did she really not know anything? At this moment, Chu Fang said, perhaps junior sister Yun has lost her memory. She must have done something, which is why the sandstorm of death stopped. Otherwise, why would the sandstorm of death suddenly stop? Chapter 42:12, Senior Brother Chu is right. Before anyone could react, Yun Chujo got up and said shamelessly, yes. Yes. Senior Brother Chu is right. I must have sacrificed myself to do something earth-shattering. Otherwise, would this sandstorm of death have stopped? You don't have to thank me too much. After all, I have always been a very kind person. Now that you mention it, I do have some impression. I seem to have fought with a demon beast for a few thousand rounds. That demon beast had a body full of Huang Mao, and its mouth was filled with wind blades and sand. Everyone's noses were almost crooked from anger. Can you at least be more reserved even if you want to go with the flow? And fight for a few thousand rounds? And a body full of Huang Mao? Can you be any more ridiculous than that? Yun Chujo started to talk about how she had fought with the monster for a few days and nights, then, she changed the topic, my injuries are too serious. I'm doing this for everyone's safety. Do you have any good pills? Everyone suddenly thought of the pills that this guy had extorted to heal their spiritual sense. They did not bother to ask anymore, they quickly said, although the sandstorm of death has stopped, it might come back again. It's better for us to leave this place as soon as possible. That's right. It's more important for us to leave this place. I'm so thirsty. Let's find some water to drink. In the blink of an eye, everyone ran away. On one hand, they were really afraid that the sandstorm of death would come back again because of her. Perhaps, it would also be her fault. If they could not afford to offend her, they could hide. Seeing this, Yun Chujo stretched her neck and shouted from behind, don't leave. Leave the pills before you leave. The more Yun Chujo shouted, the faster the crowd ran. Soon, they were gone. Only the people from the Nameless Sword Sect, the Flying Flower Island, and the ghost city of Tao Tai were left. The people from the nine-layered pavilion also used a soft cushion to carry Tower Master Luochen away. They must have gone to find a place to treat him. Elder Duanmu looked speechlessly at Hei Xinjiu, who had her hands on her hips and wanted elixirs. Didn't she say that she was seriously injured? This lively appearance was even more energetic than them. A glimmer flashed in Manager Sun's eyes. He was about to open his mouth to speak when he heard Yun Chujo exclaim, my head hurts. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to faint. Little Moon, quickly come and help me up. Although Xiao Yu knew that this fellow was most likely putting on an act again, she still walked forward to help her up. Island Master Qi was furious when he saw this. He snorted coldly, let's leave this place quickly. We'll talk about it after we leave the desert. Manager Sun saw that Yun Chujo had fainted, so he could only swallow his words. Anyway, They would only need 4 hours to leave the Death Sand Sea. It wouldn't be too late to talk about it then. Thus, everyone quickly jumped out of the Death Sand Sea. Hei Shinjo saw that manager's son had given up on asking, so she slightly heaved a sigh of relief. She whispered to Xiaoyu, that manager's son must want to ask me for a 6-star dark spirit stone. Go and tell your master to speak up for me later. After the matter is done, I'll give him 50 yuan to play with. Xiaoyu was speechless, but she still found an opportunity to tell Island Master Qi about the matter. Only then did Island Master Qi remember that when the main body of the disc array broke, Yun Chujo had put away the main body of the disc array, the array leaf, and the remaining 6-star dark spirit stones. No wonder manager's son looked like he wanted to say something but hesitated. He agreed without much hesitation. 56-star dark spirit stones was a huge sum of money. He had been cheated out of hundreds of millions of spirit stones previously, so it was just enough to make up for it. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.